Now let's look how we're going to do a perfectly bound Western pocket. Just a little word here again. I think I've said that before, but you could work this like that. So you're putting the pocket onto your apron, right sides facing each other, sew it with a 1 centimeter seam allowance, snip, turn, iron, and Bob's your uncle, you would be done, right? But we want this beautiful effect, and if you have a really nice bias binding like I do here, then obviously that is a really, really nice thing to do. And I just hope America follows suit and you get like nice bias like you do in the UK. They are really the kings and queens of bias binding. I shall get lots this Christmas when I go home. So now I'm going to just pin this along, because in order for this to like be properly bound and not slip out, especially when you're just starting to sew, you should sew this together. What this also does is you're going to give it some stability by sewing it down. So we're going to do this, and what you see here is that I push my fabric into the presser foot. This is really important because you don't want to stretch it. So basically that's like putting a stay stitch in. Yeah, but you don't need to pull anything. It's already going to hold this now. Next, I'm going to take my bias binding. Usually it has got one side which is slimmer than the other, and the wider side always has to lie underneath it so that it will always catch it. But here they're actually exactly the same. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on here, but don't start on the edge. I pin this in here on the edge, but you want to leave a little bit hanging over the top. That's way easier, and you see it in a minute, because when I take it on the sewing machine, magically it's something different, because I made 2 of these and then ran out of the pretty stuff, so I had to use something else. Anyway, this is why you want to leave 2 centimeters standing at the top, because it will get stuck if you don't do that. And then I'm going to push in right into the fold my fabric of the apron. The key is to feed it in all straight. You can't do this fast. I do it really slowly, and then sew as close as you can to the edge. And I always say don't watch your needle, but you do have to keep an eye on the needle. I watch it just for the bias binding, where you're really close to the edge. And here you can see that the lower part of my bias binding is actually a bit wider. Yeah, and this is the stuff that I've used, my bias tape, which is called Double Fold. This is from Joann's, and it's quite slim. I would recommend that if you have never done this before, take the wider one. And now that we've done that, we can just put this on top of each other and pin in the pocket. It's very, very simple. I was actually really pleased with myself when I came up with this technique. Some years ago I thought, this alleviates having to even make the pocket properly. Although, of course, you can, and how that's done, if you want a separate pocket, I actually show you in our special winter one, which you can also find in the Academy. There we go, just a pin on this side, just make sure it's nice and flat. Once that's pinned in, it's not going to go anywhere. Brilliant. Super. And now all I have to do is sew it on. It's so simple and so quick. So if you make these for a bazaar or to raise money or for your shop, literally you can make one of those in about 15 minutes. It's that quick. And especially if you know what you're doing, you probably can cut down lower than that. If you made 5 or 6 at the same time, you probably get down to between 10 and 15 minutes per apron. Now, there's no seam allowance for that really. It's always 1 centimeter, but if you're a bit, further off, or if you're closer to the edge, it doesn't really matter because it's just a pocket. There you go. Do the same on both sides. That's what it looks like. Just turn it again. Whoop. And there's your pocket. So that's really nice, right? Now, so again, same as on the pocket, we have to sew this down all the way around, otherwise it's so easy to slip out. So I'm going to put my pins in vertical to the seam, and when it's vertical to the seam, that means I don't have to take the pins out. I can just zoom round it close to the edge. This is not a centimeter seam allowance. I'm going really close just so I catch it. And that will be that for this step. And then we're going to go and bind that, of course, in our next step. And also, if you're using the check, watch out that your line you're stitching now is actually even Steven on that check or that line going across, because we're going to cut it back as a next step and we want it to be all looking even. Now need to bind it, and how that's done I'm showing you in the next step, so I'll see you there.